Hey guys, welcome back to my new Q&A show where I am talking to people in this community, answering questions you have, and just having a more meaningful one-on-one conversation. In today's episode, I sat down with Sheyda and we talked about a wide range of topics with health, wellness, and beauty, so I think there will be something for everyone in this episode.
Hi Mona, my name is Sheyda. I'm 24 years old and I actually have a degree in finance. I graduated a little over a year ago, but time passes by so fast, right? Yes. But I'm currently involved in real estate, and I also have like a huge passion for everything, health, wellness, beauty, incorporating that, just like everyone else. And especially now more so like in the whole pandemic and everything. I think it gives people a lot of space to kind of reflect and kind of like upgrade, their lifestyle choices, more time for themselves, to be flexible with their work schedules. And
that's amazing. I think you're spot on that COVID gave all of us time to kind of like go inward and have a little bit more time to think, reflect, like self-care. I'm so glad that self-care has become prioritized for everyone. So I'm glad that, even though you are still working in real estate, you're finding time for that. What can I help you with? Like, what questions do you have for me?
Okay, so basically, I guess the first one would have to be more towards career, because I know, a lot of the followers know that you started off being a pharmacist and then you transitioned into, the whole typical, following your dreams, doing what you want. Mm-hmm. And so what are some tips that you could give out based on, your own experience and people that you've mentored with, in efficient ways to invest in yourself, to then start your own business or transition from, work to, something more, like your own project?
Yeah, I love this. And I'm glad you brought up mentors, because that's actually not an aspect I bring up all the time when I talk about this topic. I just don't ever think about it as much, but that was such a huge part of me building this career. One thing that's always been a part of my personality is that when I see someone that I admire or want to learn from, I kind of latch on, and I really try to put an effort into that relationship because I really want to learn from them and gain whatever knowledge and experience. And I always try to make myself valuable to them. So I think that it's almost honest to look at that relationship like a give and take. They're giving me their time of things that I really want to learn. So I bend a little bit and try to go out of my way to help them and try to always be the person to just even my aunt, my mom's best friend from Iran, they grew up together. And when I moved to LA, we call her my aunt, so Persians do. When I moved to LA, she's just such a strong woman. She's confident, strong, secure, and kind. There was so much I wanted to learn from her. And whenever I'd want to see her, she was in Malibu, it was an hour and a half. If she'd be oh, I can't make it to LA, I would drive to see her. I would, I was always willing to do whatever I could to be there for her because I valued my time with her so much. And that stuff carries through in your career. It's not always such a direct correlation. When it came to actual career, there was a few different friends I met in my life that were really successful entrepreneurs that I would constantly ask from and learn from and just really make myself again, available to soak up anything I could. When I was working as a pharmacist, I think the one thing I realized right away was that I liked the field that I was in, but I hated the actual practice of it. Because at first I had a moment where I was should I start a PR company? Should I do something completely different? I'm so bored with this career. But one of my mentors gave me really good advice where he was you worked so hard for your degree. Can you find a way to take advantage of that? And I'm so glad that he said that to me, because that's when I started exploring okay, maybe I could be a personality and maybe I could share the aspects of it that I do like. And even now, yes, I'm a pharmacist by trade, but so much of what I talk about was not what I learned in school. So it's not you have to stick directly, whether it's real estate or whatever you do, you can kind of segue depending on what, I think people resonate to your passions more. If I were to just talk about drug interactions, it wouldn't come up as interesting as me talking about
Yeah,
wellness.
Definitely incorporating that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the next question would be more in regards to, like the whole morning routine. It's always been trendy. But I mean, of course, the body-mind connection, there's so many ways you could go with it, like I stretch, I drink my coffee, I do this, I do that, whatever. But I guess more tapping into like skincare, because I know like I'm 24, right? I'm really, I guess, young. We're both young, but I guess like what skincare tips do you recommend, more so in terms of like, right now I've been seeing a lot of like the gua shui, like the jade roller, all those the facial massages. Which ones do you think are most efficient to invest in, or, skincare treatments or things you can incorporate into your morning routine?
I think skincare, being consistent is what's going to get you like the biggest benefit versus like having to spend so much money on a lot of different tools, and having that be like your morning ritual, like really finding like peace and enjoyment in that, whether it's like waking up in the morning and it feels refreshing, or like winding down at night and doing something really relaxing. In terms of gua sha and jade rolling, I think they're both like very inexpensive.
Gua sha, yeah.
Honestly, some people say gua sha. I mean, I like saying gua sha too. It's okay. They're both really inexpensive tools. You can find them for pretty inexpensive. So I think it's worth investing in both and kind of playing around. Like I like to use the gua sha for more like sculpting, and always use a flat surface and like little fine lines or nasolabial folds, but I like the jade roller for just helping boost circulation and drive product in. So if you put a serum in, just like a nice little roll, like you can obviously follow the meridians for lymphatic drainage, and just like allow it to be relaxing. I think that it's so easy, you could just do it in bed. One little skincare hack that I like to do is my nightstand is, if you like open my nightstand, I have like 3 little sections, and I basically have a whole skincare setup in there for the nights that I'm too tired to go do my skincare. I have like a cleansing like wipe, I've got a serum, I've got a moisturizer, and like, an overnight mask, because everyone has those nights, but at least you're like doing something.
Yeah, and what like overnight masks do you recommend, like in general? Because that's a really good go-to.
There's this one by Origins. It's like this avocado moisturizing mask that I've always really, really liked. Any overnight mask you have is pretty much going to be hydrating, because you can't really go to bed with like a clay mask. So that one's really nice. There was one by SKINCEUTICALS I used to love, but I really tried to switch over into all clean beauty, so it was their B5 hydrating. But if you don't, I mean, that's everyone's personal preference. So it's like a hydrating B5 mask that worked really well. I would even use that on planes because it would go on clear. But the overnight mask I actually always use when I travel too, because no one can tell it's on, and it just keeps you hydrated.
Yeah, no, that's a good tip. And Origins is, a really good brand. I like it too. It's one of those, I guess, nature-based organic brands. They have really good whole products. Yeah. And I guess, delving into the next question, I guess the correlation between the plant-based diet and gut health. Everyone, literally, there were so many questions, and I think it's a great topic because a lot of people don't talk about it enough. It's starting to come into play now. But I guess the importance of, your gut health and its influence on especially women's health, and I guess your take on, key points that people could keep in mind when following, any sort of plant-based diet, whether if it's vegan or just, the animal products, but incorporating plant-based, ingredients, because a lot of people have been mentioning, the importance of knowing not to consume too much fiber, too much of a good thing, or, what supplements they should take. So I guess your opinion on that.
I think it's a field that's still like really being learned, and there's so much that we know and don't know. It's a little bit more of like a newer like focus in the medical field. In terms of if someone was eating a fully plant-based diet, I would say to be very careful of the additives, because just because something is vegan does not mean it's clean. And watching out for things like gums and like artificial sweeteners and dyes, those things can really mess with your gut health, especially gums. So I would watch out for that. I got tricked into that a lot with buying like an organic vegan protein bar that just had so many different things in it that weren't good for my gut health. I think that food combining can be really good for gut health, especially if you're eating meat and a plant-based diet that also includes meat, like not mixing like too many starches with proteins and just trying to have like a more simple meal, like minimizing it to a few different foods versus like a ton of different things in one meal. I think that adding in like at least like one big like raw green salad or like a green juice, something to get like your greens in the day is super important. The controversy on fiber obviously is a little bit tricky. I think that fiber is important. I mean, there's some people who are on the carnivore diet, like fully meat, who say that you should have no fiber. And there's people who have a fully GI doctors with a fully plant-based diet.
Totally extreme. Like
I think that in moderation it makes sense. Like, most people wouldn't be able to do like a nose to tail carnivore diet. It's definitely difficult and not something I believe in.
They go crazy.
Yeah, so I personally like adding in like a good amount of vegetables every day, whether you're adding in a little bit of protein, as long as it's like pasture raised or grass fed and organic, hormone free, all of that stuff, and drinking a lot of water and just sticking to a clean diet.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess like another question would have to be, well, just in general, like the topic of probiotics, because there's so many, I guess, supplements that are being advertised, probiotic pills, or, I love Melissa Wood, Melissa Wood Health. I follow her. And she takes the liquid supplements in the morning. But also, I think it's good if you get it in through sauerkraut, miso, fermented foods. But in regards to like more like supplemental probiotics, which ones do you think are, I guess, worthy to consider, or do you think they're really necessary?
I think that they are necessary when they're taken the right way, because there's so many different kinds. And I think if you have SIBO, there's like a specific one that's like sporebiotic one that's good for preventing it. I think depending on sometimes women want to take certain probiotics that are good for female health. I'm not a big fan of just taking a bunch of supplements. I don't take it unless I need to, and unless I've really gone to first of all, unless I've gone to a specialist who's done tests and been like, okay, here's what's going on with you and here's what you need, or unless I take it and see a difference. I think so many people just take things because they think they're supposed to. The amount of people I hear say I take vitamin B12 for energy, and oh, it gives me so much energy in the morning. And I'm like, it does not work that way. It has to accumulate in your body. Taking a pill and thinking that it's going to, it's just not true. So there's a lot of placebo effect there, and I don't love the supplement market in general, which is why you probably notice I don't ever share supplements, because I'm not a huge believer in it unless I know it really works for me, or unless I know I'm deficient in something. My iron stores are always really low, my ferritin, so I take a supplement because I have to.
Yeah, like you mentioned earlier, consistency is key, because I know personally I do supplement with B12 and I do see a difference, but it's over time, you don't just take it one day and right after it's like, oh my God,
Right. If you're oh, this month I've felt much better than I have in the last few months, and that makes more sense than an immediate effect.
Yeah. So I guess specifically, it's interesting that you mentioned that different probiotics have different, I guess, purposes depending on what you want to cater to. So in regards to SIBO, for example, what was the specific strain or probiotic you could recommend for people with that?
So for SIBO, I definitely don't know all the strains, but it's the MEGASPOREBIOTIC is a product that a lot of different doctors will recommend for people with SIBO, because I know it helps prevent it from coming back. And it's a really unique kind of probiotic. I know it's a little bit different than other ones. But it's such a big world of different kinds and variations that's not really my field of expertise. So I try not to just experiment with them.
Okay. I guess to finalize, hair care and everything. So again, supplementation, I don't really think it's necessary, but what key vitamins, minerals do you think are necessary? Everybody knows, vitamin E and biotin. But I guess that kind of food combining, what supplements do you think are vitamins, whether if you're getting it through your food, or through a supplement do you think are good to combine together?
I don't think it's food. I mean, food combining helps you, it's thought to help you digest more. And the more you digest and absorb your food, the more you're extracting the nutrients out of it. So there could be something to be said for that. But I think one thing people overlook is iron and thyroid. If your iron is low, it's actually not bringing your thyroid into your cells. And a lot of people with whether it's like low thyroid or even like imbalanced thyroid can have some hair issues. So that's something I like people to like test for, which I learned from a functional medicine doctor a few years ago and I thought was just really interesting. So that one's kind of overlooked. And I think just any kind of nutrient deficiency in general. So I wouldn't just go start taking like a B12, unless, B12 is making you feel great, then of course continue it. But for other people to just go try a bunch of different things, I think getting a blood test, like a good micronutrient panel, seeing what you're deficient in, even if you're deficient in like omegas, like, maybe your hair is a little bit dry because you're not getting enough of like that supplement. So I would start there and then go from there.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's great you mentioned that because I actually didn't know that about the thyroid. I mean, I personally don't have any issues, thankfully, but I think it could help a lot of people because most people, when they think of thyroid, or even me, I've heard people mention iodine deficiencies, things like that, but not really, iron. So I thought that was pretty, definitely.
Well, we are just out of time, but I hope that helped you and answered. I loved the broad range of questions. It's fun.
Yeah, I tried to think of diversity, think of
Thank
different
you so
topics.
much. That was so nice.
But yeah, thank you so much for your time, Mona. And, I'm a huge fan. I love, your image and I guess all the topics that you speak out for, beauty, health, and wellness.
Thank you.
Because usually people think, you either have to be like in this whole, like Zen mode, completely taking health and fitness seriously. But I mean, you can totally combine all those things, beauty and wellness.
I couldn't agree more. You don't have to be hippie life to like health and wellness.
Yeah, exactly. Like full stereotype. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mona. I had a great morning and I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much.
Right.
Bye.
Bye. So that wraps up my conversation with Sheyda. We got a little bit into the vitamins and supplements, which is not something I touch upon that often, but I'm curious your thoughts if you want me to talk more about this. I don't personally use a lot of supplements, but if this is something that would really help you guys and bring you value, maybe I can focus a few more videos on it. So definitely let me know in the comments. And please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you guys know every time there's a new episode. I'll see you next time.